Hi, my name is Katie Burlacher. We're going to talk about diversity and inclusion today. This is a core responsibility as ACC faculty. By the end of our discussion today, you will be able to define implicit bias and describe how it affects your role as faculty. You'll be able to state one reason why diversity and inclusion matters in general, as well as in the ACC. You will also be able to name 3 ways in which you can ensure you are diverse and inclusive as faculty. Let's get started. Who are you in the ACC? Who is the ACC? These are really important things to remember when we think about implicit bias. Let's talk about that. What is implicit bias? It is defined as an attitude or decision that affects our understanding and actions in an unconscious way, which leads to unintended consequences. This encompasses both favorable and unfavorable assessments. It's activated involuntarily, and it's pervasive. You don't necessarily know that it is happening. Everyone has them. It may not align with your declared beliefs. It does tend to favor your own in-group, and it gradually can be unlearned with de-biasing techniques. So you're probably wondering, why do we have implicit bias? Well, this was something that the human mind originally formed so that we could process the environment and world around us. It allows us to process things faster, and an orderly living depends upon it. But as you likely know, implicit bias can lead to things that we do not want it to lead to at times. I want you to pause and think, reflect for a moment if you know what your implicit bias is. If you don't know what your implicit bias is, take a picture of this slide and remind yourself after this lesson to go do a simple test. Learn at least 1 or 2 of your own implicit biases. This will aid in applying this information later on. Now that we've thought about implicit bias and how it helps us, we want to know why diversity and inclusion is important. In business, we know that diversity and inclusion improves financial performance, it helps with innovation, as well as market reputation. But we're not in business. We're in the American College of Cardiology. What does it do for us in the cardiovascular field and in the college? Well, a lot of things. It helps improve patient care and satisfaction. It provides diverse mentors, it brings different viewpoints, and helps us to better engage our communities. Specifically, diversity and inclusion will help us achieve 3 primary objectives in the college. First and foremost, to enhance the culture here. Secondly, to realize and sustain the value of diversity over a long term. And finally, to engage and leverage all the available talent that we have. As you can see, diversity in the field of cardiology is vital, not only at the deep pipeline, but for recruitment and retention beyond that. We need to be accountable to ourselves, which means that we will collect data, we will be transparent in order to realize the value of diversity throughout our entire profession. Let's go back to you. What does this mean for you as faculty at the American College of Cardiology? A number of things, right? Are you presenting? Maybe you're a moderator, possibly a session chair, or even a committee chair. These are all roles that you in the American College of Cardiology will play as faculty. Many of you will be a presenter early on in your career, as well as in your mid-career and much later in your career. Is an important role in the college. Let's Thinking about diversity and inclusion as a presenter, we want you to be mindful weeks ahead of time as you are planning your presentation. Check your slides. Use images that have multiple faces, different backgrounds. Try to avoid single images where there is just one individual represented. Also, when speaking about patients, speak about them as Miss or Mr. X or Y. Try to avoid using generic references such as Mr. Smith or Miss Smith. At the time of your presentation, remember to introduce yourself to everyone on the panel about 15 to 20 minutes before you get started. Then, when you are speaking, remember to not speak over your colleagues. If you're speaking about large studies that have gender or race, please acknowledge it. If you're the most senior or most reputable speaker, make sure that you give others time to speak. Let's move on to how you can be diverse and inclusive as a moderator. When you are moderating a session, we ask that you check your presenter slides weeks before the session. Avoid images where there is only one race or gender represented. Try to get your presenters to aim for diversity in their cases. 15 to 20 minutes before the session, introduce yourself to each speaker. Specifically ask them how they pronounce their names so that you can introduce them correctly. Plan on how you'll direct questions to the correct panelist and be purposeful in that questioning, making time for both men and women. At the time of the session, when you are moderating, be careful to introduce all people equally. Use either Dr. X for everyone or use a first and a last name without a title for everybody. Step in if somebody tries to overtalk, and again, acknowledge when large studies have significant race or gender imbalance. When you are a session chair or committee chair, we ask that you ensure that both men and women are involved. Junior and senior faculty are included. All races, with attention to those who are underrepresented, have been asked to be a part of the committee or the session. We want to try to incorporate members from both large and small institutions, as well as private and non-private ones. Thinking about what we've discussed today, please remember what implicit bias is. Again, it's an attitude or decision that affects our understanding and actions in an unconscious way, leading to unintended consequences. Everyone has this. Go do your homework and learn what yours is. Diversity and inclusion is a foundational component of the American College of Cardiology, and specifically your role as faculty. Please try to weave it into everything that you do for the college. Proactively think about ways to combat your bias as faculty and as an educator. There's lots to learn about diversity and inclusion, not only here within the college, but beyond. A couple of resources that we've developed are here for your perusing, online, easy to access. Thanks again for listening.